What up, guys and gals? Will here, Willderjess Van Build Vlog Adventures. We got some exciting stuff going on today. As you can see, we got some cabinetry and shelves and everything built that we're getting put into the van. But what we are working on today is our solar panel entry gland cable management. Big mouthful there. What I got and what we're going to start the video off is essentially getting our entry gland mounted to the top of the van. But then we're going to go into some, some pros and cons about this entry gland style, and then get into the 3 things that I wish I would have known pretty much before I started getting this thing put up here. After that, we'll kind of go into some electrical detailed analysis, explanation, whatever, as far as with parallel and series connections and how you're supposed to hook these things together. And then we can get a little how-to explanation of putting this thing on top of your van. This isn't we have a 2020 all-wheel drive dual sliding door Ford Transit, this isn't specific to any van model. This is anyone as far as how they want to put up this entry gland on top of their van. So you guys stick around, stay tuned, like, share, thumbs up, give us the holler and follow. We really appreciate it, and just glad to be here and glad to be a part of you guys, and hopefully we can give you some insight and details and maybe some entertainment along the way. So again, Will here, Willderjess Adventures. You guys appreciate it. Holla holla. Okay, we're getting the hole blowed in the top for the cables to hook and connect the solar panels to. After much deliberated debate, I've settled on this location, which all of our electrical components, this is the driver's side of the van down in here, so it makes more sense to have it on this side, in which I can't get my arm under the side of the panel to access much of anything, if I got it in the middle. So I wanted it over here to this side, as well as getting somewhere that's relatively flat for it to seal good. Here's our entry gland. So we're going to position it here facing backwards. The cable connections are on this side of the panels as well, so they'll be able to connect. The cables are essentially 1/4 inch in diameter with the weather sheathing protection on the cable. So we got these grommets that are 5/8 in OD outside diameter, 5/16 inside diameter, and they'll be able to, for the cables to go through. So we got them, we'll position those here and then get our holes drilled. So wish me luck. We got the area taped off, we got the holes started in here, trying to mitigate any of these metal shavings. This is a unibit or a step bit. They're expensive, but they're pretty serious. So you can see the gradual increase of size here, in which it goes from 3/16 to 7/8. So which you can only do a minimum or a maximum thickness of about 3/16 or so of an inch in terms of metal that you're going through. But with sheet metal, it's a really good way to step up to the size that you need without having to, have multiple bits. And as well as, bits usually only come like in a box of bits up to a 1/2 inch. So this is a cheaper way you can get bit size bigger than a 1/2 inch. All right, well, we got the 2 holes drilled in for the 2 positive negative wires coming in from the inside of the van connecting to the solar panels. I found these grommets at Lowe's, and they work perfectly for this 5/8 diameter hole that I punched in the top. Hey guys, just wanted to jump in here real quick. give a little clarification, which you may have noticed in the beginning of the video that I said you needed a 5/16 by 5/8 grommet, in which here displayed is this grommet package which I got from Lowe's to fix my inevitable mistake. When I drilled out the hole, essentially I went a little too far with the step bit, as easily can be done. Where I messed up, the grommet actually being that it says it needs a 5/8 hole, actually it's about a 1/2 inch hole for the grommet to actually fit snugly within. So if you stop at a 1/2 inch, it's perfect. But if you're like me and you mess up and you accidentally blow it out to a 5/8, this grommet package pictures, whatever size it actually is, I'm not sure, you can use to put in there to fix the problem. So just wanted to point out my mistake here was when I was doing it, and so if you do it right, you can use the 5/16 by 5/8 grommet with a 1/2 inch hole and it'll fit perfect. This grommet, not really certain what size it is. If it'll focus on it, it is a 3/8 by 15/16 by 9/16 by 5/8. So whatever the internal diameter, I know is not 3/8, it's more like 5/16, but it doesn't say that on there, so I don't know. But I found a washer in Lowe's and stuck it in there, and it fit a 5/8 hole pretty good. So therefore it fits this hole real good because it's a little bit tighter than a washer. So what, I'm just gonna stick it in there, you guys can see, which later I'll be able to come back and a little bit. Voila. So that's sealed pretty good, I believe, which I'll still, run a little bead of lap sealing around these, and as well as in each hole. But we got our cover here, which is going to go right here, and you can see it's turned right backwards, so the wind and whatnot isn't actually hitting it. But the cable will come in here, and then the solar panel will simply pull back over across on top of it. This will be accessible from the driver's side. So get this glued down, stuck on, and I'll show you that process next. All right, big moment here. We got insertion of the wire. You can't see. You can see now. You see the wire. See, this end has to hook into the panel. It's got the nifty solar connector on there. It's got a name, I can't remember. But so we got to feed it through from this end, which is where they already so kindly cut it for us. So feel it. Alright, pull it on. Not easy. Freaking noodle sucker. Hold on. Okay. Okay. Alright, we got one more. Ready? Okay. Hold on a second. We gotta pull it back out. So, learning lesson here, folks. you see where we got the entry gland, you gotta run the dang cable through all the entry thingies, i.e. the connectors, before you stick it in this hole. So you gotta think about it for a second, because this has to tighten it down, so it has to be on the back. So yeah, we'll get this thing like this. So then it comes through this doohickey cap first, and then through all of this. And that's just the seal that seals against the, so on the inside, got the cap on. Run it through here. Through the entry gland. Make sure you position the nut the correct way as well. I think it done got hot. Putting this on, that's the left side. Alright, sticking through. Alright, pull it slowly. Hold on. Alright, pull it. Pull it. Okay. Alright, we see we got them on. So these will screw on here like so. But what I'm going to do is I got some VHB tape as well as our lap sealant. Make sure this is thoroughly clean. And we'll stick it, the VHB tape, to the perimeter of the entry gland. And put us a dab of lap sealant around these grommets. So I need to figure out how long we want to leave this sticking out. Probably won't leave much. And then seal it up. We should be done on the roof. Should be very exciting. But when I put it up, I used the VHB tape and some lap sealant in hopes the VHB tape had enough adhesion to hold down the entry gland and keep a good seal. But as you can see, we got some spring action, which, you know, this was all kind of in anticipation. It's more of an experiment here. I kind of knew this could have potentially happened due to everything I had read. But the cables, because they're, you know, bent essentially coming in and having to follow this angle, you know, it's a pretty dumb design they have with this box. But we're kind of limited now on what we've got with this setup and how we screwed the holes in the van. So what I'm going to do is put some screws in it, one on each side here, and then I'll put one in the back to get this thing to hold down. We'll get some more lap sealant on it, make it have a good solid seal. But number one on the things I wish I'd have known before doing this is essentially keeping this thing and how to put it down. And should have just from the start, if you go with this route of using this style entry gland, which this one is off of Amazon, which there are countless ones that are the exact similar model to this. you know, and it just depends on how the manufacturer's differences vary, in which they do make another kind that I've seen that is essentially a round disc of a round chunk of rubber, and the cable comes up straight. Okay, in that situation, it would be kind of hard to work with my style here, having it come under the panels. So with this, it keeps it streamlined and low profile, and I like that. But the actual box, without it being screwed to the van, is limited, which they make ones that come with screws to screw it. So might as well just go ahead and do it. So number one tip, go ahead and screw this thing to the van. All right, well, we're gonna go ahead and screw this thing to the roof. Sure y'all can hear the excitement in my voice, which these are just some little 1/4 inch self tappers. I think they're about 3/4 inch long. Shouldn't be long enough to go through too far into the roof or to the ceiling planks, but which are going to do a little pre-drill. But here we go. Definitely don't want to snug them up with an impact. This old sheet metal will pull through pretty quick, so we just want to be sure it has enough strength to hold down our piece of plastic here. So we'll get our 1/4 inch ratchet socket, tighten these down, and put some more VHB around here, and button everything back up, and that should have it. When you wire it up, one tip also, there's 2 ways to wire up electrical systems. It's essentially 2, is you got series and parallel. With series, you're hooking the negative to the positive. Parallel, you know, think about 2 lines running together. They never cross. That's positives and negatives. So you essentially daisy chain them together. With a 2-panel system like this, it's easier to hook it up with series. And essentially, it's the power that comes from the panels is basically no difference. Is what is, you know, when in terms of power that you can use, it's going to produce the same amount either way you hook it up. The only difference is how the power comes in. If you hook it up series, it increases the amperage. If you hook it up parallel, it increases the voltage. So as far as, you know, that gets into some AC and DC language, and as far as what amperage and how it holds. Amperage is, you know, tend to use more heat when it transfers through the power of electricity. Not to get too convoluted, nor do I want to sound like I'm an electrical genius, because I know about as much as I need to know to get this going. So as far as what you basically need to know, if you just have a 2-panel setup like this, you have to buy a MC4 splice, you know, connector deal if you want to hook it up parallel, because it's to hook it up series, all you have to do is you got the positive that comes in, you hook it to the negative, then that positive from that panel hooks to this negative, and then that negative comes back to this line, so it can just go into a loop. You don't need anything. And like I say, with only 200-watt panels, it's not going to make a difference, and it's going to push in that same amount of power, and you'll be able to just hook it up. So, you know, just a little quick explanation on series and parallel. The number 2 tip is how to wire up the cables. When you have a 2-panel configuration such as this, it's easier to hook everything up in series. Renogy cables, they come from Renogy with the male and female connectors. So you're able to just plug one together, the positive to the one, and then you plug that and make essentially a loop connection with the positive and negative cables that go into the van, into your system. The number 3 tip is having a disconnect switch or a breaker fuse switch, a fused breaker essentially, which in your positive line that's coming in from the solar panels on the roof. You want to have this to be able to cut off the flow of electricity from your solar panels going to the charge controller. If you do not have a switch and you have the system connected, you basically can't unhook the battery because you will potentially damage your charge controller. If the power and the flow of electricity coming from the panels, you know, is making power, and it's coming in to the charge controller, it has to have somewhere to go. So if you don't have a battery source hooked up, then it can damage it. So definitely want to always be sure you have a disconnect switch or a fuse breaker. So we're going to get that one hooked in, and you see we got our wires disconnected, in which we have them disconnected on the top from the panel. The other, you know, do's and don'ts, you know, which as far as you want to get you a switch or a breaker disconnect, put that in. Having your wires hooked up, bolt it to the van, and then always be sure to, you know, pay attention, and you never want to disconnect the panels if you have them hooked to the system. The power from the charge controller has to be able to go somewhere. So do not disconnect the battery if you have the panels connected. All right, I'll leave y'all be today. That's all I got. This was our solar panel entry gland tutorial guide, quick connect, all the above. Will here, Willderjess Adventures. Glad to be here and glad to be with you guys. We appreciate everything. Adios.